In this video, we'll be replacing the rear struts in a Toyota Highlander. First thing you're going to want to do is remove the rear wheel. Then you're going to want to disconnect the ABS wire connector from the holder by just removing a small bolt. And you're going to do the same thing with the brake hose. Just remove it from the bracket that's holding it. Then you're going to disconnect the sway bar link. You can hold onto the nut with a pair of pliers and remove the nut. You're going to disconnect now the lower strut mount. There's 2 bolts. You can do it with wrenches if you don't have power tools, and then you should be able to just detach it. You're going to need to go inside the vehicle now and remove the panel to get access to the nuts at the top of the strut. Just pop off the little tab to get to the 10mm bolt. Remove that and pull up on the panel. There are tabs holding it in, so just be careful, but you should be able to pull it right off. You can now access the strut nuts and take those off, again with a power tool or with a ratchet. Now in this process, they're going to show taking the spring off of the strut. I would not recommend that if you have never used one of these before. They are very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So we'll be showing you how to do it in this video, but I would recommend buying complete struts, something that's already pieced together, and you can just install yourself.
Usually you'd get new ones of these, but we didn't, so we're going to have to reuse them. And they go in a specific way. You can see how this has an edge right there. That's where that edge of the bushing goes in. And this is going to be a little swollen, so I'm going to try my best to keep it in place, but sometimes it doesn't work out. The way you want this clocked is this is the back side of the strut. If you remember, the two bolts were towards the inner portion of the vehicle, so I want this spun 180 degrees.
Once he has that spring in there and set up how he wants it, he's going to tighten that top nut to around 100 foot-pounds. There's a lot of pressure holding on that spring, and he's going to make sure that everything is right before he removes it from that spring compressor. Once he takes it out, he's ready to install the strut. You'll put it up into the vehicle. And just push it back into place so it's held at the bottom. You can go back inside the vehicle and install the upper mounting bolts, actual nuts, and you're going to tighten those down to 5 foot-pounds, 25 foot-pounds. Now you'll install the panel back on, put in the 10mm nut and torque to 5 pounds, and then put the cap back on. Now you'll attach the strut back to the knuckle with the 2 bolts.
So I'm actually going to see how much this strut moves back and forth. When I do this, for the person who's doing the alignment, it's always best to have the strut or the knuckle as far tipped out as possible. You see how I can push it in? Mm-hmm. And it's only a little bit. I mean, it's probably a millimeter's worth of movement, but that's huge. That's probably 2 degrees.
I was just say that's 2 to 3 degrees, right?
on the alignment machine. So it sits normally at rest all the way out. So I'm going to tighten it up
and torque those nuts to 80 foot-pounds. Now you'll reconnect the brake hose to the bracket and also the ABS wire to its bracket. Reconnect the sway bar link and tighten that to 40 foot-pounds. Reinstall the wheel, and you want to torque those lug nuts to 105 foot-pounds each, and we recommend that you have an alignment check after replacing the strut.